welcome back to the Pat and Play podcast. I want to dedicate this episode to Von's cousin, Sumeshni, who sadly passed away this week. It reminds us to hold true the people who are close to us, the people we love, and the people we get the absolute pleasure to share this crazy thing we call life. I think it would be remiss of me not to start the episode by reflecting and sharing my heartfelt condolences. Rest in peace, Sumeshni. I think it's one of those things which needs saying at the outset of this episode. And Von, thank you so much for joining despite the tragedy in your family this week.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Given it's been 10 days, some of you have been asking, where the heck are you guys? Where is the podcast? I cannot go and do my drive to work without a bit of the Pat and Play. Listeners, you're going to have to forgive us. Sometimes life gets in the way, and that's how it works. On another note, some of you are going to recognize an unfamiliar face on this podcast. We are on episode, I think it's 19, and this is going to be episode 1 for Chris. Chris, yes. Welcome to the podcast, mate. Why don't you give us a quick intro? I don't know who you support, but I think I might be able to figure this one out.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Chris. I am a mad Liverpool fan, have been since before half the people on this podcast were born. I'd say absolutely fanatic. My actual job is doing stand-up comedy, so you're going to have to forgive me if I make some bad jokes here. But a big fan of the show, so super excited to be here with you guys.
We have another comedian on the show, Linde, and he's not funny either, so don't worry. Chris, welcome to the podcast. Sal's absolutely dreading this. Sal hasn't been on for a little while, and now he's on with 2 Liverpool fans. Not 1, 2.
Well, right now, they got sort of bragging rights. I mean, that's Man United. I think they were going to have an open bus tour a week ago or so, just result as their like the pinnacle. A Liverpool fan and a comedian is exactly what I need. Exactly what I need for my first episode back in a few weeks. Enjoy this a lot.
Strap yourself in. It's going to be a bumpy ride, Sal. Although actually saying that, given what has happened over the last few weeks, I'm probably on a podcast with a few people who are enjoying the football. Things are changing for you, Sal. I think I saw something like 17 points. At this point of a league season is maybe the highest you've had since you finished second. I think it was. I think that's the I saw. Yeah? So, Amorim. Anyway, we had an episode that was titled Amorim Out like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, and here we are. Football. There we go. Well, listeners, you know how it works on this podcast. We start with stocks falling and stocks rising because we're all about the finances. So let's kick off with around the stocks rising. Let's do stocks rising. I think it's easier anyway this week. Sals, what are we saying, man? Where's your stocks rising this week?
So for me, stocks rising, to be honest, and I hate to say it, and I don't know, I always put myself in these positions. I don't know, the listeners are going to think that I'm doing it to kind of save face. But honestly, I was very, very impressed with Liverpool this week. I really, really was. And like Von and I got into it. We obviously met up on the week. And what I was trying to tell her, like, about my thoughts on Salah, it comes from a place of love. Like, I genuinely love Mo Salah. I have a lot of respect for him. I have a lot of admiration. I'm a football fan first before anything else, right? So when a football player, whether he's a rival player or whatever, underperforms, I'm not about the banter, but I am about criticism. And that criticism comes from a place of rating a player super highly, right? With Mo Salah, like, in order for me to criticize you and to be harsh on you and to say, like, your stats don't matter and I'm watching football with my eyes, it means that I believe you are capable of doing a lot more, right? And that's not because you're on big contract. It's not because people speak about you as one of the best players in the world. It's because I believe that you are capable of doing better. And honestly, we're avid followers of the Premier League, and I like to see the top teams perform. I like to see the top players perform. And for me, Liverpool this week, they've shown that they can do it. Even the game against Villa, they were quite impressive. And man, I would be happy to see Salah backfiring, I don't want him to go out like bottom of the game.
Punctuation in the right place there. He could be firing, or he could be back, firing.
Yeah, like I'm impressed with Liverpool and the way the league is going this season. I want more top teams to be firing because we want to see a good title race, right? Especially when you're kind of watching a title race from a neutral position. I want to see a title race that goes until the last 5 games of the season, if not the last game of the season. So let's get Liverpool back in it. I think that they were impressive and it was good to see.
To the TV to show you after you criticized Salah, and I was like, "Did you see? Because he just scored."
Oh,
And I
wow.
took you all the way to the TV, so you had a close-up view of it.
And what kills me about Vaughn is whenever she tries to prove a point, it's always when it's a gift of a goal or a tap in or a deflection, but it's okay.
Great goal.
Yeah, Martinez shares the same sentiment as me, apparently. Fair play, Vaughn, fair play.
Yvonne, why don't you take us into your stocks rising?
My stocks rising is I'm gonna do it, guys. I'm gonna do it. Connor Bradley.
Oh,
Connor Bradley. We were like Sal says, we met up on Saturday to watch the Villa game together. And when the team sheet came out and I saw Robbo and Connor back in the starting lineup, I was so happy because I've been saying for so long that yes, Kirkes is quality, but we needed to reintroduce him really slowly and gradually into the Liverpool squad because he's brilliant at Bournemouth. It's a completely different game when you're playing for Liverpool. And I felt like throwing him into the deep end was just a little bit too heavy for him. And Connor, yes, I think it was a lot of player management, but I think it was just maybe managed a little bit too much. That boy is brilliant. He's confident. And I don't know, guys, he just turns up against Real Madrid. I feel like he loves playing against Real Madrid. But he is safe. And I feel with Connor, Verge, Ibu, and Robbo, it just makes Georgie look that much more secure, that much more confident as well, without Ali at the back. So Connor Bradley, he gets a shout out this weekend from me because I just think he had 2 games and he earned his spot as right back 100%.
We're going to get a third bloody stocks rising, all focus on Liverpool, aren't we?
My one's slightly different because Bradley I was going to give him an honorary mention for, I don't know how he's going to play now with Junior in his pocket. But in terms of stocks rising, my one's going to be sort of left field, but it's Morgan Rogers from Villa because he had a very slow start to the season. And then, they still lost to Liverpool, but he was outstanding. He was all over the place. I think he hit the post. He forced a couple of good saves. And I think because he had a great season last season, and I think he might be the driving force. Villa's won how many on the trot now? Well, until the Liverpool game. He might be, I think he's the force behind that. But
Rogers. It's a decent shout. I love him. Absolutely.
Me too.
One of my favorite non-Arsenal Premier League players, Von. You called it. I just love players who dribble and destroy structure. I just find people who can break the mold a bit and be a little bit like, hey, I'm going to try something instead of constantly listening to the tacticos and the positionality. Yeah, I can see Sal loves that. I know you, bro. You love that kind of thing. I'm going to go with one which I think might surprise a few people, but would only really be understandable if you watched the Arsenal-Burnley game. But it's Gyökeres, and the reason is I think a lot of people have watched his industrial performances in the first, say, 8 or 9 game weeks, and he's big, he's heavy, he's bulky, he fights with centre backs, and while he's been a facilitative player, Saka gets less marked because Gyökeres is kind of playing with the centre backs, and you can see Trossard is having probably his best start to a season ever, again, because he's getting less attention. The Burnley game was a bit different. Like, I didn't think he had much technical sauce in his boots. And the second goal, the way he puts that through ball in for Trossard on the left wing, it's an outstanding pass. But just through the entire first half, he was fantastic. And then he goes off with a hamstring injury at halftime. And Arsenal looked pretty terrible afterwards. Like, the second half was horrible. And we didn't really have a different team second half. It was just Gyökeres who was not on the pitch. And sometimes a player is more than what he is when the ball is at his feet. It's what he does for everybody else and the impact that he has for the club. And I'm going to confess it, folks. I'm really worried about the idea of not having Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, or Gyökeres up front. I don't know. You know, people have been saying Arsenal are gonna win the league, and I've been saying it's way too early to be talking about that nonsense. And one of the reasons is because of injuries. And now we don't have a striker, and we played young 17-year-old Harry Mananu for the second game in midweek. You don't want to be playing an academy kid who has no pedigree, and he's good, but he clearly isn't ready for this kind of level of football. We could not have Havertz back fast enough, and I just hope that Gyökeres' injury is not too serious, because I think he's starting to come out of his shell, and I think he's going to be a big player for us. Cool. Stock, are we looking at this week? Well, I've got the conch, so I'm going to take this in case one of you was considering this, but I'm going with Bournemouth. And the reason is because they've been my stocks rising for so many weeks. My level of stock is pretty high on Iraola and on Bournemouth. You have to be monumentally stupid to play a high line like that against City. Mm-hmm. And then with your centre-back, try to jump into midfield and then allow a hole for Haaland to just jog into time and time and time again. And I've kept saying on this podcast that Iraola is a great tactician. You're not a great tactician if you watch the same thing happen 4 or 5 times and you don't try to correct it. And so, yeah, we've all acknowledged that their defense was sort of taken apart in the summer, but that's no excuse. That was tactics. That wasn't personnel. And so for me, that was the poorest way of setting up against City that you can possibly design. So I'm sorry, Iraola. I'm taking a little bit of my money away from you, my friend. Chris, why don't you kick off with your stock falling?
My one is going to sound very biased, but it's an observation I'm going to make. It's Man City. And I mean, they've made it up to second on the table now, but everything they do revolves around one guy. Mm. They've kind of started a more direct route with him, like the way they're playing now. It's kind of, which is probably going to be bad for us on the weekend as Liverpool, because they're hitting the balls over the top, whatever the counter-attacks have been where we've been weakest this season. But I think BVP's always had the beating of Haaland. But for me, I think what percentage of their goals will come from him, and he is going to get a knock if he's playing every single game. He's going to get injured, and he's going to go out, and then they're going to be mediocre at best.
I actually think your stat is
kind of like that one.
To score more goals than make Champions League appearances now.
He's amazing, don't get me wrong, but you can't, like just the sheer volume of games and then combine that with the way he's playing, because he's making those sprints. If you've been watching lately, his goals have been these like 30, 40-yard sprints that he's constantly making those runs. And I just think it's not sustainable.
And it's not the way they played before. Like, even though he had the volume, that's not the way that they played it. It wasn't that route all the time. And so I kind of like that one. It's quite a good observation.
What about you?
On Sunday.
Now,
oh man, Van Dijk's always been his kryptonite.
Sure.
If I'm not mistaken, Liverpool's the only team he's never scored against.
At Anfield.
At Anfield, there you go.
Salah, what do we say?
For me, obviously, it's a special week, so I'm not going to stick it to Premier League only. I'll do 2. I'll give a Premier League one, and I'll give my one for the week. Real Madrid. I don't like them, man. Like, honestly, like I just don't. I've always been an admirer. I don't support any other team besides mine, right? So I don't have like that whole thing going on where there's my team in Spain, but I've always been an admirer of Real Madrid, right? A lot of my favorite players came from them. They've always been very exciting, but I don't enjoy them at all now. Like, there's just something about their club, and you would think I would, because they have players who I love individually, right? Never been the biggest Mbappe fan, but he's an amazing player. right? Vinny Jr., I don't like anymore. Like I rated him very highly, but I can't stand him anymore. Valverde is a player that I've loved for many, many years. And when I watch them play, like they don't excite me. They don't have that same thing about them that I felt they always did before. Like you watch them on Champions League nights, they always give you something to look forward to. And they just don't excite me the same anymore. Whereas when I watch Barcelona, like there's always something about them, even if it's like, even the way they concede can be exciting. Like they can be in a high scoring game conceding 3 goals, but it's fun to watch. And you always believe that something's going to happen, whether it's going to come from a Rashford or a Yamal or whoever it may be. Like there's something about that team that's exciting to watch. And it's very disappointing to see Real Madrid go down this path. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but like obviously Xabi Alonso, all this excitement coming into the season and the young players that they have. Yeah, man, it's not looking good. And they don't seem happy with Alonso either. They don't seem happy with it at all. So yeah, definitely Real Madrid for this week. And then in the Premier League, I don't know if I've said this before as the stock's falling, but because they were once the stocks rising for me, Chelsea. And I know a few people have said it already on this podcast, but I haven't. And I'm going to say it because I really had them as title contenders this season. I really thought that they're not necessarily going to win and going to take it to the last day, but going to be in and amongst that fight, right? I thought they had a good squad, but now I find them very disappointing. Even in this Champions League fixture last night, I think the final score was 2-2. And I don't see it. Again, similar thing with the players that they have. I know, like, again, players that I rate them. I know you got into it with Linde a little bit on Caicedo versus Rice. I love Caicedo. Like, I really rate him. João Pedro, a player that I've rated for time. He's always been in my FPL. But like, yeah, it's just not the same. And I'm disappointed. So definitely in the Premier League right now, Chelsea, and football as a whole, Real Madrid. Just because of the standard that I held those two teams at right now, they're not living up to it.
Just letting you know, I'm going to... Von.
So this week's been a little difficult. I haven't watched a lot of games, and the weekend's footballs feel really, really far away. So initially, when I was thinking about it now while everyone was chatting, my first thoughts go to Newcastle, just because I think that they were on such a great run, and then to go and lose to West Ham, who, like, we've all been waiting. We knew a win would come for them at some stage, and like, I'm a big fan of Nuno. I really, really rate him quite high, but to lose that way to West Ham is a little bit disappointing to me. But at the same time, I want to put my stocks falling even more. So I'm taking a little bit of money out of Newcastle, right? Like maybe like 2 pence here and there. But I'm taking majority of my money out of Wayne Rooney and his punditry, because I just feel like he made a complete idiot of himself this week.
And I almost said Virgil. And I said I can't have Liverpool up and then pull one down. And okay, no, fair enough. All right, carry on.
Don't worry, Sal. I'll show you Virgil. We'll watch the game together again, and I'll take you to the screen and I'll show you again why my captain is my captain. But like, I just feel like he made a real idiot of himself this week with some of his comments. And I just loved the fact that both Slot and Virgil put him in his place during the interviews this week. Virgil said to him, like, maybe if you watched football, you would understand that I am actually a leader, instead of just sitting there and making comments. And I just think it's hilarious. And the fellow pundits that were on it actually called him out, and they were like, you were shaking in your boots when Virgil was next to you. Majority of my stocks I'm pulling out of Wayne Rooney and his punditry.
As the
I mean, when people go on podcasts, I feel like you got to be careful with criticizing people on a podcast, right? But a lot of pundits are clearly just a little bit like ex-players. If they're not doing well in management and got something to do, it feels like they go on TalkSport or Sky Sports and they are just ready to be back in the limelight. Like Jamie O'Hara, for example, from Spurs, is just constantly trying to be in the limelight, anything to create a career from a failed footballing career. Rooney's a bit different. Like, he's an absolute legend. And so it is one of those where you kind of go, You don't really need to say it, but at the same time, it's good for entertainment. You know, it was good to watch VVD bite back a little bit, and often players are a little bit too media trained. And Sal, I know we've had this chat before about how like the personalities in football have just been eroded by these like media, like coached people. So interesting. You guys are cheating though, both of you having double stocks falling. Me and Chris this year with our singles, sticking to the format. Oh, Lord, what am I going to do? Now, I just know Linde's going to come on next week. He's going to have like 5 stocks falling, 7 stocks rising. It's just going to...
If I may speak in Wayne Rooney's defense, he was known for his goal-scoring prowess. Give the guy a break there.
Well, be careful, guys. Rooney might find us, and then we're going to be the ones who are there. Standing next to him going, oh, shit. Anyway... We have had a pretty good chat on stocks falling, stocks rising. That's a decent 20-minute segment. So I think it's probably not worth necessarily going through each of the games from last weekend. I think, to be honest, it's a bit more interesting to have a look at some of the games we've got coming up. It's looking like a really juicy weekend, and it's not just Super Sunday's big game with City versus Liverpool. Why don't we start off actually with United versus Spurs? Because I thought maybe a couple of weeks ago, you know, Thomas Frank and the new rejuvenated Spurs would walk all over United. And I think we probably have a different narrative emerging at the moment. And I just can't really understand who Spurs are. Like last weekend, the weirdness with Jed Spence and Van der Ven walking past Thomas Frank and refusing to shake his hand. Weird. And I was like, what's that about? And then in the week, Van der Ven scores arguably one of the best goals the defender's ever scored. Van der Ven can't defend. That's for sure. He's shipped 183 goals since he joined in 2023, but he certainly knows how to score a goal. Jeez, Louise. Sal, why don't you give us your thoughts, man, on the game against Spurs coming up? You feeling confident based on your form?
I'm feeling confident. Ever since Lamans came into the team, I'm confident facing anybody. It's a good feeling. Doesn't mean I necessarily think we're the best team in the world, but I do have a confidence about watching my team. However, with Spurs, it's such a tricky one. I agree with you completely. I don't really know where they're at. And that's both historically and current. When it comes to United versus Spurs, it's always been a tricky fixture. We have played some of our best football in games against Spurs, and we have also suffered some of our most disheartening defeats and draws against them as well. Like historically, I remember Gareth Bale tearing us to shreds. I remember tearing them to shreds. I remember so many things happening when we played that team, and games where we played exceptionally well and still lost. So I am confident, but this new regime with Thomas Frank, I rate them. I do rate them, but they're just not quite there. They're still very Spursy, and it seems like that's never really going to go away. But I'm confident, and that's just the supporter in me. And it's been a while since I've had that naive sort of confidence about my team. So I want to carry it on for as long as I possibly can. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the game. I wanted to find out, I'm not sure if the Premier League Player of the Month has been announced as yet, but I heard rumors that it was going to be Mbeumo. So I'm hoping that's true, because it's been a while since United players enjoyed that kind of small glory. So I'm hoping that confidence sort of kicks him on as well. I've been really, really impressed with him and interested to see how it goes down. Looking forward to the game. And I've been enjoying watching my team. So yeah, confidence.
Don't sit on the fence. Predictions?
Prediction 2-1 United.
With Mbeumo scoring both. I bench him in FPL. I'm such a twat. Anyway.
Against in the last fixture. So, yeah, it happens.
Von, Chris, any thoughts on United Spurs?
I've got the opposite. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. But Spurs is at home. The game against Chelsea, I think there was that London derby thing that was playing. And I think United away from home, they played Forest. Last week, they drew to an out-of-form Forest. And so I can see Spurs, I think 3-2 or 4-2.
Oh,
and it's not just because I hate Man United. It's like I genuinely think great. Casemiro's coming to a run of form eventually, but I think if Spurs turn up, then Their defense is still not the best, but they've been scoring a couple of really nice goals.
Casemiro was on my stocks rising options for this week. Funny you say that, because I was the idiot who kept saying, when the football leaves you, leave the football, or whatever it was about Casemiro, and saying he was dead food. And he scored like 4 goals or something this season. So shows what I know about football. Von, what are we saying? You think Man United or Spurs winning this one?
I think it's a little bit difficult because, like Sal said, Spurs are slightly unpredictable at the moment. I mean, Thomas Frank engine is working, but at the same time, their defense looks shoddy. And as United was slowly sort of gaining some momentum, they had this 2-2 draw. So I'm going to say it's going to be a 2-2 draw. Again, for United, I just think that they're finding their form. I rate Casemiro pretty high as well, and I like watching Mbeumo. I liked him more before he joined United, obviously, but like I rate him quite high. And your new goalkeeper, he's changed everything in that squad. He's given you guys so much confidence at the back, and that's what the big difference for me is just putting him in there, and he's really solid. Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 2-2 draw because, like you said, Spurs for me leak stupid goals, but they score beautiful goals at the same time. So I think it's gonna be a really interesting game.
Win for Man United, win for Spurs.
It's all up to you now.
Mm-hmm.
No one should bet based on what we say on this podcast, evidently. I don't know where I lie, and that's really bad for a podcast. Like, I just feel this could go either way, and in many ways this could be the underrated game for the weekend, where like we think it's going to be City versus Liverpool as the exciting fixture, and this could easily, as you say, Chris, 4-2. On, you said 2-2. Sal, you said 2-1. Like, no one here is saying anything with a 0 on either side. I think it could be really, really a fun game. If I had to bet, which I've promised myself I no longer will do after losing a bit of money, will be, I think, Man United. You know, I really like Mbeumo, but at the same time, the Forest game was weird. Felt like a bit of a counter narrative to what I saw emerging. So really don't know with this one, but I think this could be one of the games of the weekend. Let's move on. There aren't many other big games for the weekend, but I did want to call out a quick one on Xhaka. Xhaka is, of course, coming home for the first time since he left Arsenal. And I think this is going to be one of those games where on the fixture list, when Arsenal looked at Sunderland in this run of games, we would have gone massive dub. Let's even play Dowman on the right. Let's put in the kids. We're going to smash this team. And then suddenly, Sunderland looked like the club owned by the richest team in the world. Sunderland looked like they are the actual big team in Newcastle. I don't know what is going on. This is not how football's supposed to be. You're not supposed to be able to buy 20 players, put them together, and then they just gel. But hey, maybe the club there has been, I don't know, playing some Football Manager or some FIFA or something, because that's the feeling. It's like you kind of put really good players in and they're all working. I can't wait to see Xhaka. I loved him when he was at Arsenal. It was a love-hate relationship. Every red card meant I wanted to sort of kick him out. And, you know, my head was hot half the time he was playing. But at the same time, and anyone who knows me from when I used to play football, Xhaka is kind of a similar personality to me, which is a leader sometimes, but also a hothead and a bit of a dickhead sometimes. So I always liked him. And also physically inept, a little bit like Xhaka, but a little bit of techers. I'm looking forward to the game. I do think Arsenal will win, but I think it might be the most difficult game we've played in a while, surprisingly. And I think, which is going to be something people will not like to hear if you're an Arsenal fan listening to this podcast, I think the clean sheet run is over. I have this weird feeling that we're going to win the game 2-1. Any thoughts on the Arsenal game, folks?
Are you guys playing at home?
No.
Oh, wow. You actually get to travel. Jeez. Out of London for a second time in a week. That's incredible.
Sassy.
I'm just saying, it really helps when your run of form for the last, 8-9 games have all been at home. And the one away game that you played was Fulham, which doesn't really count because you can still sleep at home in your bed. It does make a difference.
We got to play everyone home and away, Von.
Feels like part of your game.
No, I think for me, Arsenal's on that run, and like they normally bottle it against the smaller teams, but I don't think it's going to happen this week.
Yeah,
I want to absorb that energy.
I agree. I don't think the clean sheet run is going to come to an end. And I don't think it's going to be down to the fact that Sunderland are a lesser team than Arsenal, which obviously they are, but it's not going to be down to that. It's going to be the fact that you guys are so solid defensively. Like, it's unbelievable how solid you are defensively. It annoys me because I was an admirer of Arsenal growing up, obviously in the Wenger era. My favorite player of all time, one of the players I idolized, Thierry Henry. You know, I was used to watching Arsenal playing like expansive attacking football, balls moving, and it's just beautiful. And it's you know. And now it's like you guys have just solidified the defense and turned defense into a match-winning thing. So much so that even your fucking centre back is giving goal contributions every match week. I think Sunderland will show up. I think they're going to impress us. It's going to be one of those games where we're going to be able to say they showed up, they played well, but Arsenal were just unbreakable. And I'm looking for some, you know me and Shaka. I'm excited to see that, like another player that I love. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It actually gets me very, very amped for the return fixture when we see Shaka come back to the Emirates. So yeah, looking forward to it. Arsenal win. I think Arsenal win. Not a high-scoring game, like a 1-0, maybe 2, but Arsenal win. Corner FC.
Corner FC, yeah. It's not playing really good football. Like, it's boring football, but they're securing those 3 points.
It was a meme today with an Arsenal fan with his son. I think if you guys saw it. He's like, Dad, why did you call me sick, please?
The one thing I like is that the Arsenal fans have not taken the set piece accusations to heart, or at least every game rings out from the fans. And at the end of the day, Wenger is a big part of what people associate with Arsenal and attacking football. But people do forget, of course, that the Invincible season was not based on attacking football. That was based on 12 draws and a whole load of games where we just drew them 0-0. I mean, I remember watching Portsmouth 0-0, home and away, and thinking, we're not very good. And then we went invincible. And I know everyone's starting to talk about the Chelsea 15-goal record. We're not beating that. I just want to keep saying that on the podcast. It's not happening. There will be a game where we will concede 3 or 2 or go on a run where we start conceding. So I want to sink that. Let's not aim.
I feel like you're only saying that, though, because when you say things on this podcast, the opposite thing happens.
What you're trying to say is I have bad takes.
Like, you, in the beginning of the season, you said Man City, like, stocks falling. Look at them now. So I feel like you just keep saying this 15 goals thing just so that it doesn't happen.
If there's one thing about Tim and Arsenal, he will do everything in his power to not jinx something.
I'd rather call it out.
Yeah. But honestly, I pray 5 times a day, and I don't think God is going to allow that to happen. Like, I can't have Arsenal having 2 all-time things to their name, the 15-goal record and an unbeaten season, and I can't allow that. Like, I know God is not letting that happen. The way you guys are playing, the way you guys are playing, I can see it happening, but spiritually it can't. No ways. No.
Not calling on the God card here.
Yeah,
I might just do that.
5. Very, very, very inadequate dedication there. I was going to chat about Chelsea versus Wolves, but I don't know if it's even worth it. It's like Chelsea are just such a...
Do we know who's taking over Wolves now?
It's not Gary O'Neill. I know that he was in the running for it going back, but I know he's ruled himself out and doesn't want the job. I don't know who's taken over, but I wouldn't want to do it.
Interim manager to face Chelsea this weekend. Watch the
only guys are already been taken by Forest.
Say again?
The only guy who could do the job is being taken by Forest. Right?
I would only put Nuno or Daesh in that role to try save it, and neither of them are available. Yeah, it's going to be tricky for Wolves. I don't think it's worth covering this game too much. I think Wolves are so poor, it doesn't matter how Chelsea play. They'll walk them.
They didn't have the furthest to travel though for the Champions League, and I think their body clocks might have taken a knock, because even though they played at the game actually kicked off only at 6 local time, so it was they've had a really, really long travel to get there, because Karabakh is like close to China, basically.
But those private jets these guys travel on, just play, man. But I hear you. Von, what's with you on this episode and traveling? Home away, Karabakh, China. You're very focused on the air miles, but I hear you.
My passport has no stamps this year. Maybe I'm trying to manifest it.
Manifest that trip to Karabakh in what? Azerbaijan. Yeah, you know what? It could be an interesting trip. We've been putting it off too long, folks. We're already at the 40-minute mark. We've got to talk about it. City versus Liverpool on Sunday. I'd say probably the winner already before the game has started, of course, is Arsenal, without going back on that game, because with the gap in between Arsenal and City and the gap between Arsenal and Liverpool right now, it is the perfect time for Arsenal to have this gameplay. I thought that this was going to end up being easier for City. I thought that with your form, that this was coming at a really bad time, and then you've had an absolutely outstanding week after throwing the Carabao Cup, which was a very good move in my opinion, because you looked fantastic against Villa, and I thought you looked outstanding against Madrid, notwithstanding Sal's comments that Madrid looked a shadow of what they used to be, and it's actually kind of sad to see the collapse of European football outside of one or two teams, because that's not the Madrid we grew up with, and clearly the money gradually is eroding. The big powers, Barcelona, looked also like good up front, but absolutely horrific everywhere else. I guess Liverpool fans, we got to start with you, right? You got to lead us into this one. Chris, honors are yours, given that you are our guest today. Why don't you give us your thoughts on what do you think about the game?
So, a couple of quick observations about Liverpool's return to form. You would have noticed, with the exception of Ekitike, they largely stuck the past 2 games with last year's team.
Yep.
Which I think was a smart move. I don't think one was talking about Podcast earlier. Just he needed to be given time, where Klopp would have put him on the bench for the first 6 months. And there's also been another big game changer, which is Grafenberg. Gives a little bit of extra protection to the defense, and he's been on fire. I think he's up there with any midfielder in Europe right now. He's been absolutely brilliant. So if he's controlling that midfield, giving a little bit of protection to the two at the back, hopefully we can stop them up it. And then let's see what happens up front. Because I also think the other thing that was quite encouraging in Real Madrid was he was making some really, really clever runs. He was making some really putting in passes that I don't think everyone's on the same wavelength as him yet. But I think it's going to happen, especially the way he links up with Ekitike from time to time. I think that's going to be a great partnership going forward. And then, of course, other person who's coming back into form is Mo Salah. So I can see us conceding one, but I think we're going to take it. It's always a cracking game between Liverpool and City, but I can see a 2-1 or a 3-1. I'm going to go in Liverpool's favor.
It's at Anfield, eh?
Sal, are you feeling the same?
Nah. Like, I've complimented Liverpool too much. I've given them the respect they deserve. I've spoken about Salah. Liverpool are losing this game on the weekend, guys. I'm sorry. And it's not a disrespect. I don't think they're going to win. I thought it was at Anfield, so I was even more confident saying that City were going to win, because as everyone knows, I don't rate Anfield so highly. But I think the Etihad will be a little bit more interesting. No, I'm just kidding. But I do think City are going to win this game. As much as I'm saying Liverpool are looking a little bit better, I don't quite think that Salah is really, really regaining his confidence all that much. I still think, again, he is playing in a system that does not favor him the way it did before. And again, that's not a knock against him. I still don't quite see what Arne Slot is doing with the team. And going into such a big game, I still think going into a big game like this, I haven't quite yet seen enough establishment for me to be confident that Liverpool are going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be like chalk and cheese. I don't think City are going to bulldoze them by any means. I do think it has the potential to still be an interesting fixture, but I do think City are going to win. I'm not that confident in Liverpool as yet, especially in the Premier League, the way things have been going. But I do want to see a good game of football. And again, believe me, there's nothing more that I'd rather see than a game where we see Haaland firing and Salah firing, and let it be 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. Let's see that again the way it was before. I would love to see that. So I do hope I'm proven wrong. Really, I do. But I think I'm leaning more in favor of City. I really am.
Do you think City's got the midfield? Like
So, yeah.
on Tuesday night, I was saying all these teams who play the ugly football seem to be having the better of us.
Yeah.
But matches in actual football, that's I think we're better. What do you reckon?
So that's what can make it interesting, right? Because I do agree with you. I do think that Liverpool midfield, they have impressed me. And I'm a fan again of Sobo, of Mac, and of Gravenberch as well, who was a player that I've always admired. Tim knows this. Like, when Tenor came to United, he brought everyone I didn't want, and the one I wanted went to Liverpool. So, like, Gravenberch for me was the player that I wanted to replace Paul Pogba when he left. And I'm like a massive admirer of him. So I do think that's your strength. Really, I think that midfield is a strength. But I just feel like, you were speaking about this one-dimensional football of going through Haaland. I know you say Verge is Haaland's kryptonite, but I can see it working in Haaland's favor this weekend. I really can. And I don't know if that's maybe me being a hater on Verge or just not rating Verge the way I used to before. Again, not trying to disrespect him, right? Everybody has his day. But I can still see that working in City's favor. And also, City also have a switch, man. City also have a switch when it comes to playing in the big games, when it comes to playing against your Liverpools and your Arsenals. Like, it's always interesting. So I lean more towards City because of that. But I am hoping for a more exciting fixture. Fair. Yeah.
It's a weird one. I mean, you mentioned, I said my stocks falling were heavily focused on City in the first 4 game weeks, but I remember saying another thing around how Pep seems to use, like, he doesn't do a preseason. They don't really do anything prior to the kickoff of the season. They always start seemingly quite slowly over the last 4 years. And then they just chug into this kind of like a momentum that crescendos really at the right time of the season, which is sort of that middle to sort of final third. And you can see it building again. The game in the Champions League game and also the game on the weekend, there are a few players who looked horrendous a few weeks ago who suddenly look really good, like Foden. And I'm not a big Foden fan. I'll put that out there. He looks electric again. Cherky, who has been kind of on the bench, then kind of on, then kind of not really, but he's clearly a very technically gifted player. I mean, you didn't need to do much against Bournemouth to put Haaland in. It wasn't a great assist. People are going, oh, look at that pass. It just comes off his foot. It's like a high ball, and then Haaland just runs in. It's not that impressive. But I think with Rodri returning and Nico Gonzalez starting to settle at the base of their midfield, the only imposter for me at the moment is Bernardo Silva, who doesn't look anything like the player he used to. And I don't think the defense, City's defense, is that impressive either. For the first time in maybe like 10 years, maybe longer, neither team's like strength is in the defense. It kind of is either in midfield or attack. And with Haaland, you said it, Chris. I mean, what? Talk about concentrate all your offensive threat in absolutely one pair of boots. If Verge wants to win me over, a 2-legged challenge on Haaland at knee level would do a lot. Just do it. For the culture, please. Look, I'm really looking forward to it. It's by far the obvious game of the weekend. Everyone's going to be for it. I was going to say she looked far too pensive about the idea of this game. I think, to be honest, folks, we've been going almost an hour, so I think we can call it here. Chris, thank you so much for coming on. You're first of many, I hope, on this podcast.
It's always fun to talk football.
It is. Let's see if it's as fun on Monday.
And this weekend is the league deciders.
I'm hoping for your sake and for mine, to be honest, that you pick up a win, because I hate Spurs with a lot, even more than I hate Man United.
I need it.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'll be tuning into the Arsenal game as well, because I know you like Xhaka more than you like Man United. Thank you so much for joining, as always. Thank you very much, guys, and ciao for now.